we interact with seniors in their last 3 to 5 years of life and give them an interdisciplinary care plan. Instead of having the elderly person have to remember who says what, it's interdisciplinary and all connected. So it really just gives a much better quality of life in those last stages.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Greg Coyne, your host for the MISHRM Resource Partners Podcast. And today I have a very special guest. Some of you may know her. And for those that don't, you're about to be introduced. Her name is Lloyd. She is the Director of Human Resources for Senior Care Partners. And she is also, I will say it this way, she has done the past president circuit for Karma chapter in Kalamazoo, and she is also our current secretary for the executive council for MISHRM. So I want to welcome all of you and Monica to the show. So thanks for coming today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I think this is going to be awesome to spend some time with you today.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm excited as well because just from getting a chance to interact with you, talk with you, your passion comes out when it comes to HR, and the fact that you have a lot of different roles already that you've experienced. Why don't I just get started with asking a little bit about where you're at now, a little bit about your company and the role that you play with them.
Yeah, totally. So Senior Care Partners is a PACE program. PACE stands for Programs of All-Inclusive Care for the Elderly.
Okay.
So high level, what we do is we interact with seniors in their last 3 to 5 years of life and give them an interdisciplinary care plan, which means everyone's talking with this participant.
Yeah.
So you talk about occupational therapy, rec therapy, their primary care provider, and spiritual care. Instead of having the elderly person have to remember who says what, it's interdisciplinary and all connected. So it really just gives a much better quality of life in those last stages.
Nice.
So that's what we do. We have 4 locations: Albion, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, and Portage. About 250 employees. And I am the Director of Human Resources, so I have the pleasure of leading the organization in HR and people strategy.
Nice. I'll have to check it out because I'm actually headed to Albion here in a couple of days. So,
yeah. You'll see us right off the highway.
Oh, I love it. That's perfect. And I was wondering too, and I'm glad you brought it up, the acronym PACE, because I'm sure people will see that when they go out and look at you on LinkedIn and are like, hey, how do I get in touch? And they're like, what is this? You filled it in. So I also know a little bit about you, and I want to be able to dig a little deeper into this. And most people have had a journey in HR. I want to find out a little bit more about yours. How did you not just get to this position, but kind of what's your background with HR? What have you been through? What is your journey?
Yeah. Well, for this particular position, I've been fortunate enough to be recruited. Someone saw good value and talent in me and tapped me on the shoulder and was very excited about the opportunity.
Nice.
So I've been in this role for just under a year.
Okay.
Prior to that, I was in leadership and organizational development consulting, a company called Advisa out of Carmel, Indiana.
Oh.
I took that role February, right before the pandemic hit. So.
Oh my gosh.
Talk about a time to start a new role. But, they were lovely, fantastic. I got to work, remote. They were super supportive. But when I got tapped on the shoulder for this next opportunity, consulting's fun. It takes a certain breed of person to be a consultant.
It does.
And I like to see real, true, fast impact. And that's just not really what happens with consulting.
No.
So my bucket wasn't getting as full.
Fair.
But I really established my HR career at Advia Credit Union. I worked there for nearly 10 years, and I actually started as a teller. And I was only a teller for 3 weeks.
What?
And then I got promoted to a corporate training position. I know, it's like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
So, funny story. I'm super competitive by nature.
Yeah, I haven't picked up at all.
I like winning. I like strategy. I like problem solving.
Nice.
And so when I was going through my teller training, I asked the trainer, his name's John, I said, what's the highest score that's ever been achieved at this final assessment of learning out of this training? And he was like, well, it's 102. I said, how'd someone get 102%? He's like, well, there's extra credit. There's 4 points of extra credit. I said, well, who got it? He said, I did. I said, okay, I can see your face. We're in direct competition now. So throughout that teller training, I nailed it. I got 104%, perfect score.
Oh my gosh.
Which really just gave me a level of confidence
Sure.
to be able to apply for that position when it posted, because it was focusing on training the new hires. And so I took the leap and I was afforded that opportunity, which was just fantastic. That was really my first entrance into the HR space.
Wow.
And then from there, I moved up through the company and I worked in operations. I was a business partner. I established the recruiting department for the organization. I evolved that into an organizational development function for the company. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time there, but it gave me a huge variety of experience and lots of opportunity to build. And I'm a builder. So don't put me in something that's running well and just ask me to keep it going. Put me in something that's broken and tell me that you want me to fix it, and I will go straight for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great story. I like this.
Yep. And I was a non-traditional student. So once I found my passion in HR, I went back and got my degree. But I originally went to school to be an art teacher.
What?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, well tell me about that. I mean, some of that I have to think, in getting to know you as well, is that there's some creativity and that spurs on in the HR. So let me ask it this way. What is some of the creativity that you've had to, based on that art background that you've been able to not only see but use in the HR community?
Mm-hmm. So when I think of the HR function for an organization, I view it as a strategic business partner.
Okay.
Not just the person that protects you from employee lawsuits. That's a very teeny tiny function of what HR really is to a company.
Sure.
So when we think about strategy and we think about problem solving and we think about the puzzles that are people and all of the insecurities and experiences and preferences that go into people, you kind of have to get creative with how you approach things and do things differently and see what's working and understand that it is a process, just like a creative process. Sometimes you turn this a quarter turn and see what happens and it doesn't go so well. And so you say, okay, well, I'm going to paint over that with something else. I'm going to try something different. So it's just, it really translates nicely for me. And being a strategic HR partner affords me some opportunity to leverage my creativity and out of the box thinking.
I love it. So, because here's the thing, and I've heard it from a few people, which actually surprises me. I think the misnomer is that HR doesn't want change, even though they're very much change departments. So with that said, I'm only speaking for you, but what's one thing that you think people might misunderstand about you?
Well, I think for me as a person, it's likely a mistaken identity as being a positive, bubbly person that can then not think strategically and be assertive and lead something.
Oh, wow.
So that was feedback that I got early on in my career that's actually kind of stuck with me as like a bit of an insecurity that I have to deal with, which is, you're too nice, you're too fun. We think of you as the fun person. And that doesn't feed my problem solving, impact leadership, ego. I don't like egos, leave your ego at the door, but that piece of me.
Sure.
So, I try to find that balance of bringing my authentic self, but also making sure that people understand that I have a weighty experience and weighty opinions and a weighty strategy that I can bring, and I'm just not all fluff.
Well, here's the thing. I love it because what I've gotten to know through our interactions, Monica, is that you're super passionate about the HR community, the HR profession. And there's been a lot of change, to say the least, in people's lives, not just in HR over the last couple of years. So one of the things that I'd like to find out is, and just speaking for yourself, what do you think being an HR professional is something that HR professionals outside yourself need to hear? What's something that you need for them to hear to bring to the table?
Yeah. Well, humans are messy people, right? I mean, we're all different. We all have so many various experiences. We have insecurities. We have issues, and we try to put our best foot forward all the time, right? We're all trying to win at this thing called life, right? Prince goes after this thing called life before he starts one of his songs. I love Prince. And HR people are tasked with coordinating the talent and the efforts and the behaviors of all of these people, individuals, humans that bring so many different perspectives to the table. And it can get messy. And development is messy. When you're trying to transform something, it's not a clean process, right? You take a white canvas and you transform it into art. You got paintbrushes you got to clean up. You take some eggs, you turn them into an omelet. You got dishes you got to clean up, right? You can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Any good cook will tell you that. That's Colonel Mustard from Clue. I also love the movie Clue. So if we're doing it right as HR professionals, there's going to be a bit of a wake.
Right.
And that's okay. And we are there to minimize the wake, but encourage the ship to move forward. And that's what we're tasked with every day. And I think that it can be a bit unsettling at times when we kind of see things, kind of shaken a little bit. Maybe it might go off the rails, but it looks like it's going to go. And we pull back. And really, we should be leaning in. And we should be saying, this is okay. This level of success requires some small failures. It requires trying new things. It requires stuff landing flat or not seeding in, not rooting. And that is okay. And I think that as HR professionals, we're so concerned with taking care of everyone around us and having everything be perfect. And it's just not going to be perfect, and that's okay. And what you're doing is so meaningful. My message to HR professionals is, you play such an important role, not only in the lives of the team members that you lead, the cultures that you create for the company that your employees work in, but then those employees have to go home and they have to deal with their family. And did they have a good day at work? Or were they being micromanaged? Were the policies unclear and they're getting in trouble for things that they didn't understand? Or are you creating an environment where they feel successful and they take that energy and that positivity home and they're successful at home? And then they take that and they take it out into their community. And then it impacts the businesses, which impacts the economy. This is the work of HR. It's not just checking the box, making sure the policy is compliant. It is big, meaningful stuff, and our impact is large and wide and deep.
Love the passion. I love it.
So much passion.
Well, here's the thing, though, and I love the way that you position it. You talked about it being messy. All right, and I'm going to push back from this perspective.
Yeah, I love when you push back.
Well, here's the thing. In what we do, so I'm a consultant. I want to help people grow. I want to help companies grow. I also know that sometimes I have to leave the situation without it fully being all knotted in a bow. You talked about that. There's messiness. There is, and you also talked about sometimes you don't get to see it go to fruition. And so I guess the challenge becomes, I wanted you to think of a time when it was a little bit, messier than normal, I might say, and you had to jump in, and whether it was completed or not by you, it ultimately completed the result you were looking for. What's a time that you can think of where it did get messy, you had to get your hands dirty, which I have absolutely no worries that you will get your hands dirty in this stuff and succeed. But what's a time where that happened and maybe you didn't get to see it to fruition, but you got the end result?
Yeah, I think I'm in that space now. I'm seeing some results, but we're not to the end yet. But there is a path that we are traveling. So when I joined my current company in June, we're post-pandemic, if you can even say that, healthcare organization. Really difficult participants that we serve. A lot of them are, underfunded. They have lots of needs, and our team members are running into compassion fatigue. And our culture is not defined. You could call it in shambles. Our turnover is high, right? This is just June of last year.
Okay.
And coming into that space, and when I got the call from the recruiter, and he's like, "I'm going to be honest with you. There's some opportunity here." And I'm thinking, fantastic. I love a good opportunity. I love what you're telling me. I love that you're telling me that there's things that need to be fixed and repaired and reworked. So we go in, and I'm looking at the culture, and I'm saying, okay, we need to hear the voices of our team members. We need to establish and define and rally around the culture that we need to build towards to deliver on the mission that we all love and care about so much.
Yeah.
And so understanding the culture in the current state, getting the input of the stakeholders and our team members to help define the culture going forward, what we established are our 4 culture keys for the organization: clear, kind, confident, and curious.
Nice.
And so we attached behaviors to those 4 culture keys. So now we can link in with what it means to live and breathe the culture that we all agreed we need to keep moving forward. And so, I mean, even in the almost year that I've been there, our turnover is down, our engagement is up. We're getting, we have much stronger reviews on Glassdoor.
Nice.
I mean, there's some indicators that are saying the teams are feeling the work of the human resources department, but we don't work in silos, right? We are a partner. We don't do anything saying that we think this is best for the organization. We think we have an idea of what might help. Let's talk and refine and collaborate and build it out together with the organization. So I've seen progress, but it's not all the way there, and that's just equally as exciting for what's next.
Nice. So let me ask, because you snuck something in there that I was curious about, and that is, you talked about behaviors. Mm-hmm. So what are some of like the key performance indicators that you're measuring when it's based around the culture? Because people tend to, I see it all the time in leaders, they're like, oh yeah, key performance indicators, results. It's always revenue, profit, whatever the end result is. You're measuring behaviors, which I completely applaud and love. So what are some of those that you're measuring in order to define, hey, this is the success we're going after?
Continuous learning is one.
Nice.
So we've got a great LMS platform that's tailored to healthcare professionals, but we also have our annual employee development dollars. So every employee has their development dollars.
Nice.
They can put it towards what they want. So the utilization of those. We also look at things like seeking to ask questions, advocating for each other,
nice.
Right? So when we're in situations, we're kind of monitoring each other and holding each other accountable to leaning in and understanding instead of trying to push agendas and dig your heels in the sand. By nature, our model of PACE is very collaborative.
Okay.
And so we need to be collaborative within our organization, not just for our participants, but for each other to get the best out of that.
Yeah.
We also look at clarity, right? So looking back and surveying people and saying, do you understand what's expected of you? Do you know what's going on in the organization? What are the top 3 things that we're looking to achieve within the organization to ensure that as a leadership team, that we are communicating well and that's seeding in with the team members who have to carry this thing out. So those are 3 that we've been looking at. But we are working on going into strategic planning in August, and we're actually building a full scorecard, and there'll be new employee metrics as a part of that too.
That's awesome. I love it. I love seeing this passion. It's phenomenal. And so before we wrap up, Monica, one thing I know that many people will be beating me up if I don't ask this. How do people get in touch with you?
Oh my goodness, yeah. I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. You can check me out there. I am on the MISHRM.org website. My information is on there, my cell phone and my email. So nice. You can go to MISHRM.org and check out the Executive Council. You can see me there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Monica, thank you so much for being here. For all of you, thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Again, Monica Lloyd, she is the Director of Human Resources for Senior Care Partners. And you can also see her online at MISHRM.org as our active secretary for the Executive Council. So without further ado, thank you all for being here. I'm your host, Greg Coyne, for the MISHRM Resource Partners Podcast. And until next time, thanks and have a great one, everybody.